assessing, managing, and providing leadership on the current situation that is going on in the country. The precipitation in the country, the rains, have resulted in an emergency situation in Kenya. Many roads across the country, especially in the northern part of Kenya, have been washed away. There are trucks stuck everywhere with food, medicines, fuel that is now unable to reach the destinations in various parts of the country, especially in northern Kenya. Unfortunately, we have lost 70 people across Kenya because of these rains, and about 36,160 households have been displaced so far. The meteorological department tell us that these rains will continue, and therefore we need to prepare ourselves for the emergency situation that is going to ensue as a result. And taking into account the situation in the country now to do with our roads, the food situation, the water situation, the medicine delivery situation in Kenya. Cabinet will meet on Monday to deliberate on the various recommendations that have been made to ensure that the country is better prepared for the management of the situation that we see unfolding. Immediately, the National Disaster Operations Center has been rolled into place. Senior government officials will now move to the National Disaster Operations Center, including those from the various agencies, the military, the Ministry of Roads, the Council of Governors, and all the other stakeholders, including Ministry of Health, to make sure that we coordinate all the information, receive reports from various parts of the country, process that information, and make sure that adequate interventions are in place to manage the situations across the country, be it roads and opening of those roads, be it the situation of fuel or the situation of food. As you're all aware, last week, Government of Kenya made available resources to the special to the Ministry of ASAL to make sure that adequate food is available. Already 2.4 billion shillings have been made available to buy food and to make sure that that food is delivered where it is most needed. Adequate resources will be required, and that is why this team is now working on numbers so that we can mobilize the resources necessary to make sure that we attend to the roads that have been washed away, provide alternative roads and pathways to different parts of the country, to make sure that we deliver medicine to different parts of the country, and to ensure that no part of Kenya is left in the dark by making sure that we deliver fuel. Let me also say that I have instructed KDF to provide their air service facilities to airlift any commodities required in different parts of Kenya, and especially the last mile deliveries in the counties that are now marooned by floods. I have received the assurance of our CDF that that will be rolled out immediately. We are also going to mobilize the National Youth Service and the engineering department at KDF. And we have also agreed with the Ministry of Roads that all the road contractors in the different parts of Kenya will now be mobilized to provide emergency intervention services to make sure that roads are opened in different parts of Kenya and we are going to mobilize the resources necessary to make sure that contractors on the ground in different parts of Kenya are mobilized for emergency intervention activities. Additionally, the Ministry of Health, working with the Council of Governors and Red Cross, will be mobilized to provide medicine commodities for water treatment, for disease management, be it cholera, malaria, and all the others that will be assessed as requirements in different parts of Kenya. The Minister for Health, who is here, has been tasked to provide leadership with the different agencies working in collaboration with the Council of Governors to make sure that health commodities are available in different parts of the country. The lead agency in making sure that all the roads, especially the trunk roads around Kenya, KenHub will provide leadership, and the Ministry of Transport and Roads will make sure that sufficient resources, human, machine, and money is available to make sure that that process is undertaken. The Ministry of Water will also work with the Council of Governors to make sure that where water infrastructure has been submerged, to ensure that there is water for drinking and for use, so that we avoid the now emerging cases of cholera in some parts, and malaria in other parts, and diarrhea in other parts of Kenya. We want to make sure that this situation is managed, and as a result, the emergency situation has necessitated Cabinet to meet on Monday as a first thing, so that we can receive the reports from this multi-agency team, process those reports, and provide intervention mechanisms to make sure that we manage this situation. The Ministry of Energy has been asked to liaise with the counties to make sure that as our dams fill up, citizens are informed across, especially in the areas that we could have overflow of dams, so that citizens are relocated early. We're informed that within the next 1 week, some of our dams will be full, and therefore there will be need for information to be made available to citizens, so that if there will be need to relocate some citizens from the downstream, that should happen ahead of time. The provincial administration has been tasked to make sure that citizens who are living in areas where there could be possibilities of mudslides are informed ahead of time, relocated ahead of time, so that we avoid unnecessary losses, as we have seen in the past, of citizens who have become victims of mudslides in Kenya. The information that we have is that rain is going to continue. Kenya is already soaked, and water will be now flowing when it rains, and therefore we run a higher risk of flooding in different parts of Kenya. Meanwhile, we are informing citizens in the short rain areas to take advantage of the fertilizers that have been made available by government, to make sure that they do their top dressing, especially in areas where we are seeing a good crop. We want to also take advantage of these rains to make sure that we produce enough food for the next season. And the Ministry of Agriculture has been tasked to make sure that where support to farmers is required, that support is made available. Meanwhile, the security situation in the country is also being affected by inaccessibility of some areas. The National Police Service under the Ministry of Interior will work with the different stakeholders and different members of the provincial administration to make sure that we secure the country even in this context. The Ministry of the Treasury has been mandated to explore different mechanisms of funding for the requirements that will be needed so that we can have adequate resources to manage the situation, and their recommendations should be presented to Cabinet on Monday for us to be able to appropriate those recommendations and provide the necessary leadership and the necessary interventions to make sure that all agencies are adequately resourced to provide emergency services across the country. I want to inform the people of Kenya that we are appropriately seized of this matter. My deputy has been consulting with different stakeholders in the last 3 to 4 weeks. We now believe that we are better prepared going into the future, especially with the coming together of the national government and county government with all the other agencies, and now having a coordinated approach under the National Disaster Operations Center to make sure that we centralize all the information coming from different parts of Kenya. We process that information and provide adequate interventions from a one government approach, both at the national and at the county level. I will be issuing a much more comprehensive statement with all the details of what we will be doing in the short term, in the medium term, and in the long term on Monday, after we have discussed all the recommendations that will be made by the different teams on Monday. Asanteni sana. Thank you very much.